American TESOL presents Free Friday webinars. I'm your host, Shelly Sanchez-Terrell, and we're here every Friday, even if I have to take a trip, like I am, out of the country. So wherever we have these, we've been doing them for 3 years, and we share lots and lots of information. We have them all recorded, and we have them on YouTube. You can get a certificate of accomplish or participation from American TESOL, and then you also get all the slides, and you also get the resources. So feel free to bring people along or to share the recording. Today we're going to talk about SMS, which is texting, emojis, and IM apps, instant messenger apps, or chatting apps, and how to use that with learning. When I was teaching in Greece, that's where I got my CELTA. Do any of you know what a CELTA is? And do you have a CELTA? That's a good question to ask.
Members, you are welcome to board at this time, as well as our business class cabin. You are sitting in rows 1 to 4. You are welcome to board at this time.
A CELTA is the teaching certificate that you need to teach in other countries English. It's English language teaching certification. They have a CELTA, and they also have a Delta. So if you're a language teacher, you have to have that. In America, it's often called, and in other, usually South American countries and some other countries, it's the TESOL certificate. So you have two. And I had to go and I had to do this training, so I decided to do it in Greece because I was like, might as well stay somewhere nice. And we taught refugees English, and we had them use their cell phones. And the reason we did that is because a majority of people have cell phones now. Because cell phones are considered as staples now. It's the way many of us communicate. And in fact, many of us can't even imagine what life would be like without our cell phones, because that's how important they are. And the reason I bring this up is because we have the opportunity to teach with these, since our students use them every single day. And they could imagine if they were using that time and dedicating it to learning your topic, then they would be spending a lot of time and they would learn a whole lot. Sorry about that. They always talk more when I'm doing a webinar. They're usually always silent before. Now I want you to look at this picture, and I know we're talking about texting, but why would I say the TV? My grandfather, he actually grew up, and he was alive before the TV. And if you can just picture life before you ever even knew a television existed, and then all of a sudden, you have a TV in your room, and you see all of these characters and people from around the world, and they look different, they talk different, they have different accents, and that's what the TV did for my grandfather. And my grandfather was absolutely amazed, because I'm Mexican American, and so for us, it's very rare that we got to see things like this. And before the TV, you've got to imagine that a lot of people didn't travel around the world. So for a long time, the TV was that first visual introduction to culture and stuff. And one of the most amazing things that I think about my grandfather, because my grandfather absolutely loved technology. He just thought he was so amazing. And I remember one of the last memories I had with him before he passed away 4 years ago, and he was like my hero, is how my grandfather would say, for example, he was so excited that he got laser eye surgery because my grandfather knew the potential of technology. And one of the most amazing things he got to see was the first man on the moon. He got to see that live in his living room. And why did he get to see that? Because of technology. So I want you to think I don't want you to think about all the bad things about mobile devices, because we tend to do that. We tend to gripe a lot. And I mean everybody in general, but a lot of adults, because we're used to what life was like without a cell phone. But our students don't know that kind of life. They know this life, and so it's very foreign for them. And let's think about the way that these devices have really changed the way we communicate. And so I want you to think about life, your life kind of before a mobile device, and now what does it look like? And this is very common. This is very common to see people texting a lot instead of even conversating. So think about how the mobile devices have impacted your routines, your rituals, the way you even learn and communicate. Because every single day now you learn and communicate. And in fact, we have the opportunity and ability to carry information, to do research, to do field research, to read magazines, to create movies, to create podcasts. We have so much potential on the go. So, for example, right now, I have the ability to teach you while I'm at the airport. And it's funny because last time I was at the Houston airport, and I was able to use the Adobe app that comes for free on your mobile device to do my webinar. So you can even do it with a mobile device. So your students have the opportunity to take your learning to go. So what kind of things can you get them to do? But in the same point, I was recently running a MOOC, a massive open online course. And I had over 500 teachers, but only 179 answered the survey. And what I thought was funny, that in 52 countries, the majority of them didn't teach with mobile devices, although 40% of that majority reported they were allowed to teach with them, that the devices were actually allowed to be in school. So why don't we use the devices to help our students learn? David Crystal says, a lot of times we think that our students are not literate, that what they write now is not meaningful. And the reason we think it's not meaningful and good learning is because it's small, it's through text. But David Crystal says that they write blogs, which are diaries, and the rest of it they text and all this stuff in his book, and also in this article, The Joy of Text. And he says, in fact, our students are more. Oh, okay, that's good. Well, that's amazing, Marike. Do you have any links to things that you do with the mobile devices? Feel free to share with us the links and add them to the bookmarks. But David Crystal says that, in fact, our students are more literate than we are because every single day they are reading and writing and commenting on their mobile device. It's different types of chunks of narrative, and we stream and we scan and we translate. Every single day, your students learn these skills and they participate in this. So they do this every single day. Are you familiar with these apps? Because a lot of these are part of the culture and what our students are doing every day. One of the most important things that we can learn about now is this little guy that recently came out. Does anybody know what the name of that app is? It is a very popular, one of the most. Yes, Erika, yeah, exactly. And it's important you know that because this is what's called an ephemeral app. What does ephemeral mean? Does anybody know what ephemeral means? Ephemeral, Snapchat kind of made this popular. So for a long time, we have told our students, don't post this picture, don't post that status update, because you're going to go to an interview and your employer is going to see that, right? Well, because of this, there are so many ephemeral apps now. What does that mean? It means that what you post has a timestamp on it, that it doesn't last exactly. Although there are a lot of different types of sources that say that, in fact, is not true. It does laugh. And what's kind of scary, yeah, exactly. And one of the easiest ways is to take a screenshot. But one of the other ways that, what I think is particularly scary, and I'm going to show you this too, as soon as I get my device on. When I was looking at Snapchat the other day, I'm not on Snapchat, and I won't get on Snapchat. But, ow, I did want to show you something, that when you actually do a look for Snapchat, and I think this is pretty scary, I don't know, there's an easy way to get your students to see the danger. I'm doing a search for Snapchat right now, okay, on my device. Here's the Snapchat. And you can upload pictures and everything. And then look at this. There's 246 results. And what does it say there? This is an app to save your Snapchats. Here's another app. There's about 100 of these apps that are free, just dedicated to saving your Snapchat. So I think it's important that our students see that, because our students have this thinking that they can post things online and they're not gonna have any consequences for it. But in fact, now we know that some of that can be very dangerous consequences. So it's important that we teach our students with the texting. Another piece of this literacy is now our students have come up with different languages. They have actually changed the English language. For example, now we have words such as hashtag. How many of you have ever used the word hashtag in the last week? How many of you have used the word LOL, or have text LOL, or OMG? Yes, how many of you? And they also not only changed the language, but they have changed our culture, the way that we communicate. How many of you, I know, and me too, how many of you have taken a selfie or know what a selfie is? Yeah, exactly. So our students, we're not even teaching with these devices. We're not even teaching this culture, yet our students are teaching us. They're changing our behavior. What they're doing through texting and chatting and all of this is changing the way we communicate. It's changing our culture, our traditions, and what we do. So it's important that if we want our students to have, to do good things, if we want them to have good habits with their technology, it's good to use these devices because there's so much learning that they can do. So one of the things, like you saw here, they translated Moby Dick into Emoji Dick. And this is kind of what it looks like here. Call me Ishmael, and this is over 1,000 people got together to make this translation. But like David Crystal says, that's a higher order thinking skills. Your students, they now know like 3 languages, and it's not Spanish, or it's not any of those kind of languages, Chinese or anything like that. It's one of the things that they had where, oh, that's fantastic, Eureka, and that's what I'm saying. That's one of the suggestions. Is have your students translate literature, have them translate. So a lot of times your students, they're not interested in poem or anything like that. But when you get it exactly, like Eureka says, when they have to translate it or create sentences only using that, you know, in emojis, they love it. Like, this is something that they like to do. Oh, somebody's very excited. Another thing that David Crystal says so much about this. Now, David Crystal is one of the leading linguists in the world. He has so much information that's just incredible, and I really love what he says about, and he really supports texting and all of that, because he says that our kids are smarter. They know language now. And the reason why is he says different things that you look at. One of them is that omitting. And he says, you know, a lot of times parents and teachers say, well, they're omitting things like OMG, LOL, all of that. But he says that if you omit or you abbreviate, you actually have to know it's there. You can't omit without knowing what you're omitting. Also, that computer literacy is replacing book literacy. And so he makes some really good points. I'm going to suggest a few of these texting. I'm going to give you some more ideas on how to use some assignments and stuff. But I want to take some time to show you some really great ones for education. Because for me, I found that even though I like to, like, for example, my students, they use things like Kik. Students use things like they're chatting all the time with different WhatsApp. That's a very popular one. What is it? Texting apps that are popular among your students? What do they use? Oh, that's very interesting, Enrique. So these are the ones I recommend for education because these were actually made for education. And then there's some others that I recommend. But yeah, exactly. That's one of the most popular ones is WhatsApp. But I'm going to show you the features and what they do. This is my favorite one for kids. By the way, everything I share with you today is free. I only like free apps because I know teachers don't have a high budget. So you can download this. This is Pig Walkie Talkie for iOS. It's the best one. I've actually used texting and these kind of apps with these are also called like walkie-talkie apps. You have things such as Haywire. You have some other ones as well. You have them in Android, iOS, any device. This is the one that I recommend for kids. I always have taught from 2 years old all the way to 80 years old. And my young learners were 4 to 6 in Germany. And so we use things like this. And Pig Walkie-Talkie is even safe for them. This is what it does. Is you can talk in real time. You have to have a Wi-Fi network. You can do voice distortion, which I love because if you teach kids, then you want to protect them in all ways. So they don't have to upload their pics. And what are they practicing? They're practicing their listening skills, and they're also practicing their speaking skills. They also have the option to send voice messages via email. They can even send messages to their parents. Every day you can have them say something like the fun thing they're learning today. They can leave a message to the parents that in English every day, which is awesome because then the parents get very excited and are like, wow, you guys had a lot of fun in class. And then they love receiving messages from the kids. This is one of the most brilliant things about Pig that I really love. Whoever invented this really knows kids. Because they added this option that if nobody's around or you don't have Wi-Fi, then one of the things your kids can do is talk to characters within Pig. When I was little, one of my favorite things to do is I had this Sesame Street phone. And if I pressed any of the characters like Elmo or the Count or Cookie Monster, then they would talk to me. It was a toy phone, and I love that. So I think that that's amazing that Pig has added this. Google Hangouts. This is a great way. Now, you may not think about it, but Google has tons of different apps. And so you can actually, if you create a class or a community, and I love Google Plus communities, so I set that up. You can have group discussions and stuff. You can have more than one person talking. And one of the great things about it is you can also have a lot of your students get together and they can help each other study, or they can do video hangouts. And the great thing is you can see here in the side you have the texting. So you can chat back and forth while people are presenting. How about a class discussion? Imagine if in a class discussion instead you were in a Google chat and then you were on video and you could see all the live discussion on the side. Wouldn't that be very awesome? And then your students would also be learning along the way better. They'll be more engaged if you are doing one. One of the favorite apps with educators these days is Boxer. Now let me go ahead and show you what Boxer is. Are any of you familiar with Boxer? I love it. Boxer lets you share messages, it lets you text, it lets you share voice messages. So a lot of the people that I box with do that. You can have over 500 who is that? You can have over 500 people inside one of these voice chats, okay? So I'm going to show you what it does. And teachers get in groups and they have talk groups. So here's an example one. This one's called the Teacher Vox Line. And there is Jake Duncan, and he's leaving a long text, right? But he also can leave. Right now they're saying a marathon, right? Somebody left that. And then they leave little voice messages to each other. So you can, I don't know if you can hear that though. Oh, it's because I have this thing on. Okay, so let's press play. So anyway, they're talking within the app. You can kind of see that playing. And so you leave voicemails. You don't have to be in real time. It's a great app for doing that. Another way that people, you can, okay, so here's a few ideas that I like to think about. So since you can do all of this with these wonderful apps, there are a lot of different ideas. For example, you can have modern dialogue. In other words, you can have somebody, you can take a dialogue from your text, and then you can have your students translate it today. They could do, for example, how would the texting be like if missed, with two characters? What would they text each other back and forth? And your students will have a lot of fun with that. You can have a lifeline. So every single day, your students can get one lifeline. And what you do is, anytime they don't know an answer to a question, anytime they don't, if one answer from a test or quiz, it doesn't matter. They get that one lifeline for the day. Every day they get a lifeline. And they can text those people and ask their classmates for the answer, okay? So this is a lot of fun because a lot of times you ask questions, right? And then you get students who just don't know the answer and they feel kind of dumb about it. That's the problem. So one way that you can make that a fun process and not make that student focus on that they didn't know what the answer was is they get to use the lifeline and they get to learn from one of their peers. So it's a great type of activity. One of the newest apps that students love, and this is great for teens, it's also great for adult learners, is hollerback.com. You send video conversations to each other and you get to put funny faces on you. You get to add mustaches to yourself, funny glasses, wigs. So your students will love that. But the great thing about hollerback video is that it also allows your learners to role play. So it really helps them build a character, and you can even give them different situations and scenarios that they can use. Blog video talking is another great way to have a conversation because it's a video. All you do is you press, you record, and then it's left there for them. A video message. You can't edit it afterwards, at least last time I was using it. But it's a lot of fun. How many of you have heard of Twitter? Well, there's actually an entire voice social network that uses tweets. But they're voice tweets. And one of my favorite tools that I think is absolutely amazing is Facebook Messenger. Let me show you what the new Facebook Messenger app does. The new Facebook Messenger app allows me to call anybody that's in my friends list. The other day was my friend, Bucharest teacher. He was, he's in Romania, and I actually got to call him from Texas free with the app. It's just amazing, the Facebook Messenger app. You can put people into groups so that way only the group can have access to that language or whatever you're studying. Mm. Okay, I was going to see if I could put it up for you. And that way you can see the amazing things that this app does. This is honestly one of my other favorite parts of Face Messenger. I'm going to go ahead and use, let me use one of the ones. Okay, we'll use this one. Okay, so you can kind of see the options on the bottom. One of the reasons your students will like it is because they have stickers. The stickers on the bottom your students love. They also have the ability to share video and text. And the other part that I think is awesome is they have this record feature. They have a microphone. So anyone in your friends list, if you want the free Facebook Messenger app, well, actually, you can leave a voicemail to them. Doesn't matter if they're in Romania or Greece or I've left them, and I love it. So in a way, it kind of is like Boxer. Back class, while class discussions are happening, you can either post different discussion points and then have them do that back feed with their texting. You can use something like Poll Anything, and they can text in their choices. So I forgot to put that up, but let me go ahead and put it. So they can make your lecture or your presentation come to life. Your students can actually do something with it, okay? Oh, did you lose me? I hope not. Another idea is to have students interview each other. They can text back questions to each other and do a text interview. They can take screenshots and then they can mail that to you. They can do that with anybody. Another idea is to have them take two characters, give me the scenario, and have them write text for it. ClassTools.net is one of the best tools that I've seen. SMS, you don't even have to do it through your device because ClassTools.net has an SMS generator for you. So you type in the proposed text and it sends it to you. So I think this is awesome. If you read this one, it talks between a conversation between Darth Vader and Luke. And I just think it's really awesome.
And the terminals will serve as a final and immediate boarding call. Delta Airlines flight number 485, service to Bermuda, here at gate number B20.
Sorry.
Once again, final boarding call.
You
Delta Airlines flight
should
number
make
485, service to Bermuda. The open doorway marked B20.
I'm
All
gonna put that
ticketed and
poll
confirmed
in
passengers
there.
should be in the final boarding process. Once again, final boarding call. Delta Airlines flight number 485.
So you can
service
even
to
have two
Bermuda,
things like
gate number
chain stories.
B20.
One person texts the first part of the story. Once upon a time, they give it to their friend, and their friend puts in the next text. And they continue the story on, and then eventually they're going to have this huge text full of that story, which is very cool. Okay, let's see, let's continue. We're almost finished. Another way is to have your students describe an event through text. So what they can do is they can add pictures, anything. You can even do this as a homework assignment, where what they're doing is that they have the, okay, so you said it's only the internet. Well, the great thing about that SMS generator is that it generates, even the small ones. Let's see. So you can have them say what they're seeing, what they're happening, just like a news reporter. One of the things you can have for young learners is what would your pet text? What would an animal text? You can give them somebody and say, what would they text? This is one of the best sites, I think. It's really funny. It's called Text from My Dog. Even if you just Google Text from My Dog, this person is pretty famous. And it's really funny because he gets in the character and he writes what the dog would say. And here you can kind of see what he says. He says he named his fleas the Fleetos. He's not taking them off. Crazy dog. You can have them create a text dictionary. So you know how we have Wikipedia. Everybody adds to that. Well, you can start a school-wide one or just for your class where they take different types um, of text and all these new words and they define them for us. They can even do this in a wiki, so it's there for life. They can do different types of role play. They can role play characters in books, a dialogue between and they can even characters impacted by situation. So how would you do all this? Give them role cards. You can always do role play cards. Here, you can have them have the implements, their complications. So there's plenty of room to do this. And then there's many more ideas, but we're going to go ahead and wrap up. And I want you to think about all the learning potential that your students have access to. And they can learn, they can create, they can be productive. And if they get to me like that, then we've done a really, really good job. These are where you're going to find the resources. And I'm even going to upload all the slides for you, which is on SlideShare. And I don't know if I have that particular. Okay. Sorry. You can find all of that there. Sometimes it's hard to see in this thing. And then you can always reach me in any of these areas. Remember, your students love to do different things. They text back and forth and stuff like this. This kind of reminds me of this old, when they used to have the little stickies, and then they used to pass them to each other, the little notes, and they used to photo them. And now it's texting that's kind of replaced that. So I don't want you to fear using technology. I want you to see all the potential that they can do with this technology. Your students will find it really fascinating and a great way to learn as well. So thank you so much for coming. And I will see you next week. I will be back in the U.S. So that will be good. Let's see. Okay, here we go. So